So this is probably going to be like hitting a hornet's nest for a lot of people, but I can't help but address the matter. So I posted on a video that it was addressing how we should act when someone disrespects us. And I gave a lengthy post that was about using discernment and discretion. And it got like over 4,300 likes and hundreds of comments, both good and bad. And I really wanted to address that. And some people are asking, I'm getting a lot of people asking me about it. And I think that what I would like to say on the matter is, or what I did kind of address was, before you determine if you are going to just run away or be offended when someone shows you disrespect, it is really important to address your own heart before God. So, and that's what I said. I said, we have all disrespected God. We have all dishonored him. We've all sinned against him. And how does he respond to that? What is his heart? And kind of this hits a nerve with people because it addresses boundary issues. And so a lot of people say, yeah, well, we forgive, but they make a strong boundary. And I'm not saying I disagree with that necessarily at all. But my point in addressing that was, how important is it to have wisdom and discretion in your boundaries. And boundaries are for yourself, for internally. You have to guard your own heart. But people get so easily offended, especially in our culture nowadays, and they just basically want to run away from their problems and run away when someone disrespects them. They want to run away from it. But that is not the heart of God. That is not the first thing he does. And when, especially as a Christian, like when I've sinned against God, which I have, his attitude towards me is that of a father. Yes, he does discipline his children, but what is his heart in the matter? His heart is still filled with love. And I think oftentimes when we're hurt or we feel disrespected, it's difficult for us to, number one, to find forgiveness, and then we start blurring the lines between forgiveness and healthy boundaries. And we oftentimes, I've seen in my experiences, we will withhold forgiveness from someone, and then pretend that that's us making a boundary. And I'm not saying everybody does that, but so many people do. And a lot of times that's because of our own woundedness and our weaknesses and our hurt. And sometimes it's deep hurt. Sometimes it's betrayals. Maybe, and I'm not saying don't be safe. You should always pursue a situation where you can be safe. But I wanted to just read a passage. I'll just read it. Lamentations 3:17. My soul is bereft of peace. I have forgotten what happiness is. So I say, my endurance has perished. So has my hope from the Lord. Remember my affliction and my wanderings, the wormwood and the gall. My soul continually remembers it and is bowed down within me. But this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore, I will hope in him. So, that kind of paints a picture of how emotional we can get and in our afflictions. And oftentimes where it's in relationships, it can be at work, it's dealing with other people. It causes us a lot of affliction and pain. And we can even get to the point where we say our endurance has perished. Maybe some of us say, my hope from the Lord has perished. But when you sit with those feelings, especially as you understand Scripture and the heart of God, and you pray and you work through those things, you get to the point where you can say, you'll remind yourself of it, especially if you go to the text. But this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. You know, when you've gone through you can recognize like your own sinfulness before God, and in light of His holiness and His righteousness, if you're honest with yourself, that will produce within you like a great need, and you'll see how needy you truly are of His mercy and grace. And that is like the root and the beginning of understanding like real forgiveness. Like when you understand His mercies never end, what Christ did for us, and you experience the forgiveness that God gives, that is the posture, that's the position, the foundation that you want to have in extending forgiveness properly to other people. And that might, of course, it might mean that you have to create boundaries and distance in certain situations. But a lot of times, in a lot of the comment section on that post, people were basically like, well, we're not God, which is not the right attitude. It is just not. Yes, we're not God. Nobody's saying that we are God, but Christ, we're called to follow in His footsteps, who did no sin, neither was guile found in His mouth. When He was reviled, He reviled not again. He committed Himself to the Father who judges righteously, right? We're called to walk. He's an example to us. How did Christ show compassion to others? Think of the women caught in the act of adultery. They were about to hurl stones at her, and He said to them, "You who is without sin, cast the first stone." And she didn't get stoned. And then He told her, He extended mercy and forgiveness to her and told her, "Go and sin no more." He extended forgiveness to her. And we would do well to listen to that story right there. We are so quick to judge and to feel offended. In fact, to the point where we feel proud that we are able to just throw someone away, shake the dust off our feet. Yes, the scriptures do talk about shaking the dust off your feet. But we have to have discernment. There are times we do that. But we need to have the right heart in the matter. And if you don't have the right heart, you will have a hard heart. And you will push away people who are really needy and broken. And who, if you would have just endured with long suffering and patience and kindness, you could have sought reconciliation with them. And it's very challenging, you know. So that's what I'm going to say for now. There's so many scriptures that talk about this. Maybe I'll make some more videos. I hope you guys are doing well. Thanks.